I know, chasing that dough, hitting that road, getting that money, man. All I know, loading that foe, kicking down doors, getting that money, man. We gon' make it money. We gon' take it Grizzly. We gon' make it money. We gon' take it Grizzly.
The next topic we're going to discuss on Boxing Bros, not because, I'll see what everyone else has to say, but it's become a popular thing. I've seen it on Twitter and on YouTube being debated. Is Canelo the greatest Mexican fighter of all time? And before we dive into that, I want to show you something that was tweeted by Michael Benson. And basically, Michael Benson tweeted, Canelo Alvarez at age 31 was the WBA Super Welterweight, WBC Super Welterweight, WBO Super Welterweight, Ring Magazine Super Welterweight, WBA Middle, WBC Middle, IBF Middle, Ring Magazine Middle 2 times, WBA Super Middle, WBC Super Middle, IBF Super Middle, WBO Super Middle, Ring Magazine Super Middle. For those of you who aren't keeping track, that's undisputed super middleweight champion of the world and WBO light heavyweight champion of the world. These are all the titles that Canelo Alvarez has won. And as you can see, he's only 31 years of age, and he has one loss to Floyd Mayweather Jr., and he has a draw with Triple G, one draw, Triple G, and he has another draw on his record as well. I forget who that was with. But anyways, the point is Canelo at the age of 31 is very accomplished, and he's accomplished things that no other fighter of Mexican descent has accomplished. So there's this debate going on, and the question is he the greatest Mexican fighter of all time? I'm going to turn it over to you, Kasper G.
All right, so I say yes, and the reason why is because now I'm pretty sure in Mexico people could make an argument that Chavez Sr. is the greatest Mexican fighter of all time. That may be true in Mexico, but Canelo is the face of boxing globally, and so from 154 to 175, the dude has imprinted his dominance essentially, right? And so you can't deny that type of greatness. Like when people around the world know who you are, I have to make the argument that he is the greatest Mexican fighter, of all time, but it's tough too, because, it's kind of like who's greater, right? Ali or Mike Tyson. And then it'd be like, who's greater, Mike Tyson or Lennox or Anthony Joshua, right? Like there's always going to be an ongoing thing based upon the era that you grew up in, and do you respect the people from the previous generations? So I get it. But when you're looking at accolades, accomplishments, visibility, you have to give that to Canelo Alvarez. Like the dude literally is the face of boxing. And so and he like, come on, yo, like let's Showtime, DAZN, Top Rank. Oh, go ahead, Kaden.
Well, you just said like visibility, for example. Mm-hmm. And I would just say, what would you say if I said to you, Ali didn't have Twitter? Julio Cesar Chavez Sr. didn't have Twitter. He didn't have YouTube. He didn't have Facebook. He didn't have all these ways. Like even us right now, I think about it. We're well known in the UK. But without YouTube and you put us back, we wouldn't be known in the UK. We got this reminds me completely off topic. Yo, salute to Louisiana. Do you know the state that listens to our podcast the most is Louisiana? Yeah. Did y'all know that? That's crazy. Yo, salute to Louisiana, Lafayette, Opelousas, New Orleans. Yeah. Yo, salute to all y'all. Baton Rouge, for real. Like, yo, Monroe. Like, yo, listen. Louisiana listens to us. And I'm just thinking to myself, like, yo, that's so crazy. For starters, you just never really know. If you would have said, like, yo, who listens to the Boxing Bros the most, I wouldn't have thought it was Louisiana. But it's Louisiana, so that's crazy. But getting back to it, people listen. So, well, back to you, G. What I'm saying is, like, how can you say, like, visibility and use that as a factor for Canelo when isn't he just a product of his era in that sense?
But there's nothing you could do about that. You see what I'm saying? As fighters, it's kind of like spades. You can only play the hand that you was dealt, right? If Like, you know, kind of like when you talk about like old NBA players and NFL players, and they talk about how back then they didn't really get paid like that, this and the third. As time goes, the sport improves, right? And the young bucks benefit off of your hard work. But nonetheless, it's them reaping that, right? So I get what you're saying. You know, Ali only had for essentially like TV and radio for the most part, right? But yo, we living in a digital age now where you could get, you know, your point across from YouTube, Twitter, other social media platforms where billions of people use every day, right? That only helps my argument essentially, because it's like, because of that, Canelo can now tap into several households across the globe, you know. And it's unfortunate that, you know, Chavez Jr. and other fighters didn't have that same platform of visibility. But nonetheless, man, this is Canelo's era. So he reaps the benefit of that. So now, because again, it's not like I'm arguing who was a better fighter, right? I'm just arguing like who is like the greatest. Meaning, to me, when I think great, I think wherever you go, people know who you are and people pay homage. Canelo has that. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I'm really trying to think of any other Mexican that's of that caliber, right? Like, I don't know. Me personally, I don't know of that caliber. I think Canelo's number one. So I would have to say he is the greatest Mexican fighter of all time, because he's that Mexican that everyone knows.
I know one, but I'm sure Trill's gonna get into it. All right, so Trill, Dollar Bill, what's your reaction to the question is, and the debate that's going around, is Canelo Alvarez the greatest Mexican fighter of all time?
He's the great. This is his time. This is Canelo's time, and there's and Canelo knows this is his time, right? And the greatest fighter, the Mexican fighter, passed the torch to him. And Canelo said that he would never be the person that Chavez was for his country. You got to understand, Chavez. All right, we're talking about Julio Cesar Chavez, right? The kid, he came from a family 11, right? In a abandoned rail car. This is what we're talking about. To take yourself from poverty to be one of the most famous and feared Mexican fighters to ever live. He's the trailblazer. He's the reason why Canelo is able to do these things and have these accomplishments. It's because of Julio Cesar Chavez Sr., who got a ticket to Tijuana to start his professional boxing career. This was the people's champion. When they said that one of the greatest Mexican, I said one of the greatest boxers, period. I take Mexican out of there. He's the reason why all these guys want to throw that left hook to the body. Not just Mexican fighters. He's the reason why all these other guys from England and from other places want to say that they fight a Mexican style. You know what that Mexican style was from? Who fathered that? Julio Cesar Chavez.
Senior.
You don't say junior now.
He sold out the biggest arenas in Mexico. He would be carried out the ring. This was a certain type of greatness, adored by all of Mexico, could walk anywhere, no security. It's a people's champion. This is just Canelo's time. But you got to, for me, the guy that made all this possible for Canelo has to be that guy who was raised in an abandoned rail car in Mexico. And is the reason why when anybody mentions boxing, Now, you mentioned Mexico. To me, he's in my top 10 of all boxers. Things he went through outside the ring, things he did inside the ring, phenomenal. He paved the way. Didn't fight anybody. Toe to toe, he was a dog. And still willing to fight anybody. You know? So Canelo Alvarez is a great fighter. And he's gonna go down as one of the greats. But this is just his time. That's how I feel.
All right. Ned the TVE, the expert casual. I'm not even sure Ned's. But go ahead, Ned.
I'd say Julio Cesar Chavez Senior's shoes are really big shoes to fill, and Canelo is on his way to filling those shoes. And this last night's win was a big accomplishment for him, for Mexico and everything. And I know by the time when Canelo's career is all said and done, when he finally closes the book, he will probably be the greatest Mexican fighter of all time, probably the greatest fighter of all time. The way he's moving through these fighters like he is, but only time will tell. And tomorrow something can happen, and it could just derail anything. Like, now I'm not talking like we're mortals, we're mortal, we're not immortal, so God forbid. But I'm just saying,
now, the compromise is already set in stone,
Yeah. I mean, even if
I'm saying like there's like Barry Bonds got caught. I'm just saying there's certain things like that derail some people's accomplishments. So I'm just saying, I'm not accusing. I'm just saying boxers tend to have tendencies where things come up and it puts a black eye on the sport or on their career. Asterisk, things of that nature. But because you stay on that, you'll be that great fighter. Everybody, you'll get that claim to fame, that claim to the all greatest of all time.
Yeah, so your AOL is looking crazy right now.
Yeah, it's like
yo, wait, did you switch to the 5G, Ned?
Yeah, I'm on the 5G. Hold up.
No, don't do it right now. Do it before the next one. If you're not.
Yeah. All right.
I do got a question for all of y'all. Who's greater, Dr. J or MJ?
Well, here's the thing, bro. You're kind of stepping on my toes in my go. And
no, answer on your go. My fault.
I'm about to get into that though.
Yeah, because I think that's what's going on right now.
I'm about to get into that. So, like, Maz and Ether, who's the best? Part Nas are big. Ain't no best. Right? Who's the best? Park, Nas, and Big. Ain't no best. Right? And I think that's kind of what we're getting at in this situation. So, like Trill pointed out, there is Julio Cesar Chavez Sr., and he paved the way for Canelo Alvarez. He put Mexican boxing on his back and inspired a generation of boxers that include Canelo Alvarez. When Canelo Alvarez is fighting, he's holding the Mexican flag. He's doing the things he's seen Julio Cesar Chavez do. He's inspired by Julio Cesar Chavez, right? Senior. And so now Canelo goes out there and he's able to do these things. One, Canelo knows these things are possible because he saw Julio Cesar Chavez Sr. do them. But you got to look at Julio Cesar Chavez Sr.'s influence over boxing. And you can look this up and correct me if I'm wrong, but Floyd Mayweather, I think, says that Julio Cesar Chavez Sr. was his favorite fighter. Like when people ask him, I think that's who he says was his favorite fighter. So you're going to tell me Floyd isn't one of the all-time greats? If you influence one of the all-time greats because of your greatness, that shows that he goes beyond Mexico. Floyd Mayweather, a kid from Grand Rapids, Michigan, was watching Julio Cesar Chavez Sr. and learning from him, impressed by him. Yeah.
Put him in his top 5.
Yep. So, like, what I'm saying is Julio Cesar Chavez goes beyond. And you and everyone else, you can answer G's question. But now I'm about to get into what G was about to ask you because this is what sometimes people get most accomplished and best mixed up. Sometimes people get most accomplished and best mixed up. So, G, you brought up Dr. J and Michael Jordan.
Mm-hmm.
See, that's the evolution that I'm talking about. Dr. J influenced Michael Jordan. So Michael Jordan takes it to another level. And then Michael Jordan influences LeBron James.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you look at Dr. J, for starters, he didn't play in the NBA most of his career because there were 2 separate leagues, his ABA, NBA. He got an NBA at a later stage in his career. But even at that, he probably wasn't as good. He wasn't as good of a player as Michael Jordan. Wasn't as good of a player as Michael Jordan. But there'll be no Michael Jordan without him.
Mm-hmm.
So he inspires Michael Jordan. Now, this is where the argument gets interesting for, say, basketball is LeBron James and Michael Jordan. Because Michael Jordan won 6 titles, LeBron's only won 4. Michael Jordan's undefeated in the NBA Finals. LeBron James has lost 6 NBA Finals, although he's been to more finals than Michael Jordan. He's playing longer than Michael Jordan. He's already scored more points than Michael Jordan. His things are going. And so people say, who's better? Who's better, Michael Jordan or LeBron? Are we saying better or are we saying more accomplished? Because when you get into the debates, people will say, well, Michael Jordan got 6 rings. He only has 4. Does that mean he's better or more accomplished? Michael Jordan never lost in the finals and he lost 6 times. Well, Michael Jordan also got swept in the first round, and that's never happened to Bron, but we'll leave it alone. Let's just deal with this for a second and say, are we talking about best or most accomplished? Because if we're talking about who's a better player between LeBron and Michael Jordan, I think that LeBron is bigger, he's stronger, he's faster, he shoots better, he's a better passer. He's all those things. The better player to me is LeBron James. But most accomplished, Michael Jordan. 6 NBA titles. Who's the most influential? Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan changed the game. And that's the other thing. Most accomplished, most influential. Michael Jordan is more accomplished and he's more influential. He changed the game. Because of Michael Jordan, everyone gets sneakers deals now. Michael Jordan changed the game. Julio Cesar Chavez is like Michael Jordan. He's more influential than Canelo Alvarez, right? But I don't think he's not more accomplished, but he's more influential. And that is going to always loom for him over Canelo. His influence is always going to be greater than Canelo's. It's like Muhammad Ali. No one will ever be able to have the influence that Muhammad Ali has had because Muhammad Ali was not only great in the ring, but what he did for society outside the ring can never, ever be equaled by any African-American black fighter who steps into the ring. So he'll always be the most influential. Mm-hmm. But technically, I think Floyd's better. Who's the better skilled fighter? Floyd's better than Muhammad Ali, to me. But if you ask me who's the greatest, Muhammad Ali's the greatest. Because influence, accomplishments, and impact on the sport make Ali greater than Floyd. Look at Ali. Floyd will never be loved like Ali, but he's still a better fighter, technically, skill-wise, all that. Floyd's a better boxer. But to me, Ali's the greatest. And that's what we get at when we talk about these people. We're factoring in a number of things. Are we talking strictly skill? Are we talking influence? Are we talking impact? Because that's what makes these arguments go on. Like people are putting this term greatest, but they're having a number of factors. Are you talking about the most accomplished? Are you talking about the most skill? Are you talking about who had the greatest impact? Because then the names would change. Canelo is probably skilled, the most skilled Mexican fighter I've ever seen. But is he the greatest? That's up to you. I don't know.
Let us know how you feel in the comment section. Please like and subscribe and check us out on Instagram and Twitter. And please check out our podcast on all major streaming services. We are the Boxing Bros.
You're welcome. You're all